Okay. Raw thoughts. How'd you think of earnings, Riley?
I mean, earnings was just a clear indication that they're operating correctly. The front side of SoFi's business, the app, where you bank and you invest and you get loans, all that is doing really well. However, if you scroll down just two slides, you'll see Galileo counts. They did mention this in the earnings. It is kind of slowing. If you look at all the percentages from left to right, it is slowing. Um, but I don't know. That is expected, I guess, especially since Galileo and Technisys have had probably the biggest change in leadership in the past 20 years of their businesses, and they're both working on drastically new products than they thought they were 3 years ago. So maybe, and we know like Noto has like clearly said in the past 2 quarters that they're focusing really hard on the tech side. Um, and because of that, maybe all the hard work that they've done this year on the tech side, just getting these two companies under their umbrella, will really show in the next year. I'm not sure, but that's important because Galileo accounts, and whenever they start releasing more data about Technisys, especially in Latin America, that will be a future indicator of how well the front end will be doing, because the better the back end, the better the front end, as we know from AWS and Amazon. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts?
No, speaking on Galileo stuff, it's interesting. The consumer side of the business is growing faster than the B2B play, Galileo. And in this economy, in the macro, it's like, interesting. Like consumers still, it's like, it kind of proves the narrative that even though we're in a technical recession and things aren't the greatest, consumers are looking for other options, right? Like, yes, SoFi's advertising. Yes, they have a
Yeah,
great brand presence, which the football stadium is working, it seems, given this member growth. But it seems like people like myself are actively looking for better solutions, better percentage yields. SoFi announced 3% now on savings. That's really important. In terms of Galileo slowing in growth, I agree with you on the back end. They're actually trying to fix up the technology, which may be just like a natural reason why it's not growing as fast. But also because we are in a little bit of a technical recession, B2B is just potentially a little bit harder, right? It's a little bit harder to get new up and coming fintechs or startups to
oh
be
for
able to
sure.
adopt the process immediately.
Yeah, everybody's bleeding. So yeah, that's a good point.
How
And
do you how do you
then
how do you feel about member growth? I mean, this is what are your
oh,
thoughts for why they were able to grow 61%?
well, I think it's really good. I know some people on Twitter are going to argue that it's not super impressive, considering the fact that if you look from left to right, it is slowing. But I mean, still, nobody can say that this trajectory isn't impressive. It's growing pretty rapidly, and hopefully that compounds, or we get to a slower rate of decline. I know 61% is pretty insane.
In this economy, it's still
Growth.
pretty amazing.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, no, like across the board, this is all good news. Like the bull case, the theory of SoFi does not change. I am disappointed that 9 out of the 10 analysts that we talked to today did not talk about the tech side of SoFi Technologies. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy to me. Nobody we barely know what Technisys is. Um, uh, when they acquired it like 240 days ago. I mean, we do know what it is, but the general population doesn't, and of course, these analysts don't.
Adding new products. So bring in 7.2 million per year. Now, when they say adding new financial products, they're basically talking about lending and all these services and members who have adopted for one of the suite of their financial services. I'm
You know
assuming.
what? I think so. I'm not sure. I think a lot of you guys that are watching here should tune in for our live discussion on Friday on SoFi Weekly number 4.
Yes,
I
because we
know
will have the man
Tanner is going to
himself.
kill this.
We will have Tanner himself break down every granular detail to let us know. Okay, so financial services products, 83% year over growth. Lending products, 24% year over year to 1.3 million. I mean, the quarter
Take a
itself.
look at go up 2 slides real quick. I think this is, since we're probably getting a lot of first time viewers. I think the one right down below that, that's something I want to touch on in a minute. But this right here, if you're new to SoFi, this is kind of like the Amazon model that we're trying to talk about here. where if you look at Q3 2021 and you look at Q3 2022, look how bigger the top end of the funnel is compared to the bottom end.
Mm.
Tanner makes a really good point on one of our SoFi weeklies about this. The top end is growing. This is a funnel. The more people that go to invest are going to be more people that are going to be getting a personal loan 2 years from now. Maybe somebody right now is going to sign up for a SoFi account and they don't have like the best credit or anything, but over time, SoFi's app is designed to help you build credit. They give you points every time like your credit score goes up, which you can put into your checking account, which is like a business model where it improves their users' lives. And then whenever they are in a better space, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, they're going to get a personal loan or a student loan or a home loan from SoFi whenever that product is more like fully fleshed out. So the lifetime value, and Notos did bring this up, or I think it might have been Crystal Point, the chief financial officer, says the lifetime members have grown because of the bank charter and just this top of funnel thing that they're creating, which is really good. This is going to be a flywheel in the future for sure.
Shout out to Sean in the chat. I would highly recommend everyone check out his channel, Invest to Live. SoFi is one of his big positions and great channel as well. He says, Riley, to be expected, they're bank analysts, not tech. Yeah, someone in the comments, bro, when they were like, oh, look at the attitude on these analysts, I thought about it for a second. I was like, oh, wait a second. All of these guys are working for the guys that SoFi is trying to put out of business.
It's really funny. Like a Bank of America analyst are like, they ask a question and then Notos says, yeah, we're doing a really good job of taking traditional banks direct deposits. And it's just kind of like, are we about to fight here?
It's like, are we about to fight? You know, and obviously Bank of America is not going out of business because of SoFi, but it's just so interesting because it points to why these analysts didn't really talk about the tech or like any of the really, you know, interesting other sides of SoFi. They just want to know, hey, are you guys stealing our customers? And let us know so that we can apply for a job at SoFi and leave Bank of America, you know?
One good, I think one of the biggest highlights of this quarterly earnings is the SoFi Pay in 4. I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time I've heard that Notos says this is going to be the first product by Galileo and Technisys working together. And this is SoFi Pay in 4. So SoFi on our app are going to have this buy now, pay later function, which this is kind of crazy for SoFi. This could be disastrous. I don't know. They're going to have to work with their in-house models of assessing risk to be able to make this product work really well. But they're also going to be selling this pay in 4 feature to other fintechs that use their platform. So we're talking about H&R Block that already uses us. We're talking about T. Rowe Price, probably not T. Rowe
And
Price.
you think pay in 4 is kind of like a B2B buy now, pay later?
Yeah.
I know we'll dig deeper on the weekly.
Yeah, 100%. But I think it's B2C. I mean, right? I mean, people, the businesses that get the pay in 4 option are going to be offering it to their users.
So now we're competing against Klarna and Affirm. Now we're
yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, like Affirm will be great, but then again, 10 years into the future, if we're all thinking future minded, who's going to delete SoFi and download 4 replacement apps?
That's such a good point, and we'll go back to earnings in a second. But like, why would you? This is not financial advice, but why would you invest in Affirm over SoFi? Like, like what's the like? Affirm is like buy now, pay later, and SoFi is a lot of other stuff that could include buy now, pay later, right? It's incredibly.
I want to say Affirm is a great business, and like if you just look at the founder is an amazing person that is just like his whole focus is helping people. But you're 100% right. At some point, there's only so much you could do with the buy now, pay later business, and until you start going to quarterly earnings where your earnings are starting to taper, and then you start trying to add all these new products because you're a fintech company and open market, and you want to get more ways to make money. And it's like the Robinhood thing. They're trying to find different ways to make more money, but it's so much harder than they realize because they're not built from the bottom up.
And I believe Robinhood earnings will be today, if I'm not wrong, maybe tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's after hours today. And I think I'm going to look at that very closely and try to analyze that in comparison to SoFi. Elon Musk has acquired Twitter. He wants to make Twitter an everything app. Sean says, Riley, can you weigh in on SoFi as the everything banking app? So when you think of the everything banking app, how do you think of that as a trajectory for the company and if they can pull that off?
So there's what like everybody talks about like nowadays, which is like anything, any financial product that you want, you can get through SoFi. And because their CAC, their customer acquisition cost, is just stupid low compared to all these other banks, they can offer better rates and better features. And it's just there's no reason to leave the loop, the flywheel that SoFi has created. But in the long term, we're going to start seeing stuff that's like really really cool. Like just think of the social side of SoFi, because like SoFi is social finance. It's like in their DNA. They're going to create a social platform. The CEO used to be the CFO and COO of Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and like yeah, he has a lot of money now, by the way, because of the sale. But regardless, like in the future, I'm gonna have uh, my critical success factor for SoFi is when everybody on Wall Street bets moves over to SoFi, because it's just much easier to communicate on SoFi. Like SoFi should be Wall Street bets. Like, and I know that's a hard sell. And
No,
you're
no,
probably like, what are
it's
you
not
talking
even a
about?
hard sell because StockTwits is a great website for information on stocks. Sometimes the community can be a little edgy. But
Mhm.
if SoFi were to able to create, that's to put it lightly.
Exactly.
If SoFi was able to create a Reddit-like platform for stocks and
Mhm.
have 4.7 million people daily talking about companies, I mean, and
Yeah.
buying them right on the platform, like, I mean, that's a really interesting argument. That's a,
Yeah.
I mean, like, just like Robinhood hasn't even been able to do that.
And just imagine like you're trying to do research 5, 10 years into the future on stocks, and you're like, well, I could research the actual stocks, or I can find some 25-year-old kid in North Carolina that is just addicted to financial charts, and I could just follow him on SoFi. And like I can get a slider and see his holdings over time, like what the trades and when he's doing it, and then just copy that person. I mean, like I know that's hearsay.
No,
Manish
no,
Desai talks about cloning, but
but Riley, it's a great idea because me and Sean were actually talking about this last night on our podcast. Content is the future. Like let
mm,
us this is and Noto knows this
influencers.
very well. And Noto has talked about Twitter. I've seen him talk about how he thinks Twitter is the best content on the planet. The reason for that is
Mm,
because you get this amazing analysis of words intellectually from every single niche on the planet. There are
mm.
lots of stocks, not only in the United States, they're in India, they're in Hong Kong. There's lots of different companies out there. To be able to say, I follow Amit on SoFi and Amit has 100,000 followers on SoFi means I'm never leaving SoFi ever. Because not only do I get the banking side, not only do I get 3% savings, I get the social fucking clout of having 100,000 people that care about my thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, I thought about this a long time ago. Back in August, every time I would watch a movie, I trained my thumbs to follow people on the SoFi, the SoFi platform, even though it's a horrible social platform. Don't switch over because of it, because right now it's non-existent. But
Agreed.
I started
Agreed.
following everybody, and now I'm like the sixth most followed person on SoFi, and I'm like, if this company operates, and this is like what like this grand vision actually happens, I'm going to be well positioned.
Six most followed. Can you give us how many followers you have? Do you know that? Or
Yeah, I have like 6,000. I really haven't looked at it,
okay,
but I used to be
so
like two behind Anthony Noto.
right. So if they include a little text box that says share your thoughts on stocks today and you
Mm,
SoFi something, I don't know what we're gonna call it, to 6,000 people now care about you or care about your thoughts or have the ability to even access your thoughts because they followed you. I mean, like that's
yeah.
gonna keep them coming back to the app forever. Nick says, Amit, did they actually mention options? For everyone asking if they mentioned options, at the very beginning of Noto's remarks, he said options are in beta. They did not ask about it in the earnings
Oh,
call or in the
cool.
questions, but he explicitly said options are in beta and we're working on it. So yeah, options will be
One
out soon.
thing, one thing I want to bring up is Noto specifically said something that he calls the 70-30 plan, where he's going to be investing 70% of the profits back into the business and 30% on the balance sheet, which is like this is what I really want. I don't like companies that pay a dividend. I think over time you're kind of just losing out on the growth of the company. I want a company that's going to be focused on growing itself. And I mean, people are thinking like SoFi is primarily just a bank, but like the way that it invests in itself is kind of crazy. 70/30, I think, is really good for high growth. And also
Yeah.
safe. It's not like stupid like tech growthy where it's just like fast.com or something. But
How did you feel about Noto during the call? He seemed pretty confident. He seemed excited. Um,
yeah, he comes off like a great leader. I don't know, like if you listen to Elon, he'll just say whatever is on his mind. He doesn't have any like he'll just say anything. But like Noda, it does seem like he's a little reserved. He doesn't talk about probably a ton of things that they're working on. Like, there's no doubt that SoFi has a huge strategy and plan in Latin America that nobody's talking about. By the way, which is an awesome thing for a fintech company to be doing because in Latin America they don't have all these rules and regulations. So the tech people can build whatever comes to their mind. They don't have to worry about like some legal advisor coming in and saying, "Hey, you guys got to change this. You can't make this or build this type of cool product." Uh, in Latin America, Technisys and Galileo can build all these cool financial products without a lot of like regulatory like restrictions, meaning that if they're already building this tech in Latin America, they can just copy and paste this over to the SoFi, the US model, and just place a little bit of restrictions on it. So whenever regulation catches up to the world today when it comes to fintech companies, SoFi is going to be able to adapt way faster than all these big banks that are relying on other companies to do their stuff. Like Goldman Sachs, I mean, they're like probably one of the tech focused people out there. They have the Marcus app, which is billions and billions of dollars in direct deposit, way bigger than SoFi. But they're also bleeding at the same time. And a lot of their tech is not even doing is done by themselves. They're letting Apple do it for them until 2030.
yeah.
So SoFi, the, the long term just looks really, really appealing to me. And I don't think the analysts on this call actually talk about it. They just talk about short term, like what are the student loans looking like, and that's all good. I love that. It's smart, but I think just the potential SoFi could be is lost on a lot of people.
Yeah, if this call gave you anything, it's exactly what you said. It's that the potential is there. They got to keep up these numbers. They got to keep up the growth. Obviously, it's going to be
Mm.
complicated. It's challenging, but it lets you know what they've done is working so far. I mean, there was a good quote by Noto at the end of the call. He was like, "The strategy is working." You know, he said that in the midst of a lot of other sentences. But like,
Yeah,
imagine, he answered. He's like, "The strategy is working." Next question.
yeah,
It's like he's
yeah.
he seems like he knows what he's doing.
And you know, exactly. He also said something like, "Yeah, whatever we face, we're gonna beat it. We're gonna work as hard as we can, and we're gonna beat it." I think I don't know how to quantify how valuable his leadership skills from like the military attributes to SoFi like on a day to day basis, but I feel like there's some high number associated with it. He's an operational
Yeah,
CEO.
and I bought in a couple months ago, and the reason was, and again, SoFi's been on my radar for a long time, but just never pulled the trigger, thankfully. So I didn't end up holding a really big bag. But Noto, I watched an interview of Noto, and I really watched one. I watched like at least 30 interviews of this guy, and I tried to get like, could I give this guy my money, right? Like, because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you're giving him your money. That's what
one hundred
it comes
percent.
down to. You're giving him your
Mhm.
money, and they're gonna have some bad quarters. Like I saw Q3, they had 271 million in revenue. Q4 they had 280, so they like barely beat. Like it's those are this is a great quarter. You also have some really horrible quarters in public companies. That's just how it goes. Netflix had a really bad quarter, then they had a good quarter last quarter. But
Mm.
it comes down to, do you trust Reed Hastings? Do you trust Alex Karp? Do you trust Anthony Noto to end up getting through those quarters and weathering the storm and keep it pushing? Someone said, why do you care so much about options? Thinkorswim is superior. Maybe it's too complex for kids. Can we talk a little bit about why options are really important to bring to SoFi?
Yeah. Why would you download another app to do options if SoFi already provides it? And I really think this is going to be the scary thing about um, paying for and SoFi options is there's like in 6 months from now, whenever we have these products like under the app, there might be some problems with it. It is really possible. This is the first time like the company's like operating all in full in one. And if you know anything about Robinhood and when they were starting options, Wall Street bets, the whole reason it grew was because they were like scamming Robinhood, and they were finding out hacks to get like unlimited margin.
Margin, yeah, it's
Just
ridiculous.
insane stuff. So like that's the scary part. But like Noto says, he's blitzscaling. Like he's not waiting. He's not scared. He's not waiting for anything. He's just going as fast as he can, and seeing if he can like make something super big. So I don't know. It's going to be a fine line between like some fraud or there's a chance like in the future we're going to have some regulatory person come and bring the hammer down on SoFi for something that SoFi just didn't mean to do.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. But
And
yeah,
obviously, options are 50% of Robinhood's revenue. We'll see how that increases or decreases tomorrow after earnings. But that's big, man. If like playing with options means when you sell that payment for order flow to hedge funds, that's way more
mhm,
valuable than just buying a couple stocks because now those hedge funds hedge
yeah.
against it. So like, there's just so much more revenue possibilities on that.
Whenever SoFi gets options, we're going to see a ton of new members. That's my prediction. I've been wrong before though.